Bye. Hello, good morning, everybody. Just waiting for everybody to come in and then we'll kick start off. So we'll just give it another minute. We're just having a bit of a technical issue, so sorry that we were a couple of minutes late starting. If you could all turn your cameras off and mute yourselves, obviously that would be wonderful. Therefore we get to see the lovely Paige as much as we possibly can. So I think everybody's kind of coming in as we go now. Don't forget, if you want to ask any questions, then please use the chat and we'll come to that at the end. Yes. But I am absolutely delighted to welcome Paige today. You come after some lovely, lovely people, Paige, but I'm sure your conversation is just going to be as interesting and as useful for our chairs today. So, our delegates today. Now, we're probably not huge amounts of numbers today because we clash with the Private Client Law Society conference, but welcome to those of you that are also not watching us live, but watching us on recorded, because I know many of you will be. So I'm Pippa, I'm Head of Customer Engagement for Mark & Legal, delighted to be joined by Paige today. So let's embarrass her a little bit. So Paige is our new Chair of Women in Wills. She's also an award-winning court of protection specialist. She's the Deputy Head of Wills, Trusts and Probate Teams at Foster Solicitors in Norwich. She's a 3-time national award-winning lawyer and was voted as one of the top 100 most inspiring women in Norfolk. So a fantastic person to have with us today. We're very excited to have you. So welcome, Paige.
Thank you. And I'm so excited to be here. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, you just had a little bit of a blip. Go, start again.
So sorry. God, this is just my morning, isn't it? I was just saying, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for giving me the chance to be able to speak on such an amazing topic as well. Really excited to see people who have joined, and also hello to those who are watching the recording as well.
Brilliant. So first of all, let's talk about Women in Wills. So you are, I mean, congratulations on becoming the new Chair of Women in Wills. There was loads of people, very impressive people that wanted to be it, and you are it. So what made you want to decide to become Chair of Women in Wills?
That's such a great question, mainly because of the community and the network. I've got to say, I'm doing this from Birmingham today because I was at the Wills and Probate Summit last night, which was fantastic. And quite a few of the committee members were there as well. And it was really lovely. But it just, every time I engage or I'm part of one of the events, the women there are sensational, and they're my reason. If I'm perfectly honest, they are absolutely my reason. They make me feel like a better woman. You know, I'm doing it to help empower women. I'm doing it to help educate the sector. I'm doing it to build and provide a safe space for practitioners to be able to have technical but real life conversations, and just to know that you can be vulnerable and can be safe at the same time. You know, that's what it is all about for me. And the first event, which was a success in London, followed such glorious feedback, and I'm only as good as the women that I look after and who look after me. So, you know, it's credit to everybody, really. I'm just very blessed that I'm the person who gets to be the chair.
Fantastic. So, you know, let's just build on that. So why do you think groups like this are so important for women in any industry? You know, I've worked in women in logistics and those kind of things. So, you know, they're so powerful. Why do you think they're so important for women these days?
It's a really great question. So being a woman is hard and we don't talk about it. And it's okay to acknowledge that we have not just our careers, we have families, we have relationships, we have a lot going on in life. And and the women who I'm sure are joining this today and who are part of the group, we all have a purpose and we all have ambition to be great. We want to make a change, or we want to be part of a change, or we just want to build a strong network of people around us. And I think it's so important because it gives you the ability to let off steam, to check yourself with your peers, to be able to just hear another woman and be like, oh, I'm so glad she just said that because I'm feeling exactly the same thing. For me, that's what's important. I try and, or something I'm really passionate about doing now, is bringing in things that I didn't have when I first started. So having the conversations about vulnerability, about mental health, about other women maybe not supporting each other. I am all about female empowerment, but a lot of my journey in the industry has been, my biggest critics have been other women. So this is to balance the everyday life, the everyday grind, just to check in and be like, it's okay not to be okay. You're not failing. There's no judgment. It's just a safe space. And men need that too. But we're very blessed that we have this community. And I think that's what I feel.
But we're hard on ourselves, aren't we, as women?
Massively, massively. And who taught us to be that way?
Yeah.
And I think society's got a point to play in that, but it's all right. Being a woman is a superpower. It's
Absolutely.
glorious. We wake up every day with a cape on our back. Like we do incredible things, and we don't say it enough to each other. And that's something I'm always trying to promote.
And being aware of some of these things, like imposter syndrome, which is throughout women, isn't it? We always think, oh my goodness, we're going to get found out tomorrow. But being aware of that is half the battle won, isn't it? That as long as you're aware of it, you can carry on, and you know that that's how you're going to feel, but you can push through it.
And we all have imposter syndrome. There isn't one person who can sit there and say, I don't have it. I have it. When I became chair, I was like, how have I become chair of this incredible group when the other women interviewed are people I admire, who would inspire me? When I got that phone call, I was gobsmacked. My office when I told my team, I was like, I just can't believe it. And doesn't matter where you are in your career, what journey, how successful you are, what you've achieved. I think, especially as women, we are very hard on ourselves, and it's time to embrace the imposter syndrome, acknowledge the imposter syndrome, but know and be confident enough to battle it and to tackle it and to speak out about it, because I'm the first to acknowledge I have it. I'll be really honest with you. Going into the summit yesterday, I was nervous. I'm in Birmingham. I didn't know who was going to be there. And I had to check myself. I was like, okay, what am I doing here? Well, I am chair of the Women in Wills. I adore the committee. I'm a hardworking lawyer. I manage a branch. I manage a fantastic team. That's who I am. And that's what I'm going to bring. 12, 13 years of experience to the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. I mean, I chaired the legal tech panel at the BEST conference, a week last Monday, or whatever, and it was me chairing it with all male CEOs sitting on the on the stage, and I'm thinking, what am I doing? And you do have that bit of imposter syndrome, but do you know what? I kept it to time. I asked all the questions. I've had some really good feedback. And actually, it's important that you take that feedback, isn't it? And believe the feedback, not just the negative Nellies that might say something or other. It's important to embrace that feedback and go, actually, do you know what? I did a good job.
Absolutely. And I just think it's just about practicing kindness.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you're not being kind to yourself, how do you expect other people to be kind to you? That comes with respect, that comes with appreciation. These things you have to pour into yourself before you can pour into other people. And it's so easy me sitting here saying these words, and practicing it's hard. especially in this industry. Let's be really frank. We have targets, we have large caseloads, we have marketing and networking to do on top of providing a service to our clients. Like,
Yeah.
who has time to
And
have
dealing with a sensitive
ever?
subject that can bring people down. Yeah.
And just triggering.
Yeah.
It's triggering. We all have a past. We all have
Yeah.
a life outside of work. You may be caring for parents who've got dementia. You may
Yeah.
be looking after children who are sick, or just children in general. You may be going through a divorce or a breakup. Like, these are things that
Yeah.
are that they're hard.
Reality. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what I'm so excited about today, Pippa, to talk to
Yeah.
you about, because let's normalize this. Let's
Yeah.
normalize this conversation. Let's empower people to have these conversations,
Yeah, and it'd
you
be a
know,
safe space to do that.
100%, because that is what it should be. I said last night at the summit, this industry isn't glamorous. I understand some people look at it as like, oh, you're a lawyer, you're a high flyer. It's not glamorous. If you actually see the work and the hours that I put in, the
Yeah.
traveling I put in, the hard days, the
Yeah.
long nights, the tears,
The difficult conversation with somebody who's just about to pass away or lose a loved one, and it takes its
holding your
toll.
client's hand as
Yeah.
they pass away.
Yeah.
I am a robust woman, but I
Yeah.
am a woman. I am feminine, I am emotional, and I love that about me. And I love that about
Yeah.
us. You don't have to not embrace that. It's not a weakness as well.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes society, or maybe women, do feel from other men that, oh, well, I've got to have a stiff upper lip because otherwise I'm not going to fit in.
Yeah.
And it's not about that. And it's about changing the conversation, and it's about education.
Absolutely. And that's not just educating women, it's actually about educating the entire workforce about
Absolutely.
what a woman brings. And, I mean, I worked for a really good guy a few years ago in a previous career, and I remember crying one point in front of him, and I was embarrassed, I was apologizing, and he went, "Why are you embarrassed? Why are you apologizing? I know as a woman you're crying because you're frustrated and you know you're right." He said, "So because you're crying, I know to take you seriously." And there's not many people that will see that. And the theme for today is all about feminism. I think we've started on that, but I want to pick up on something you said earlier, and you mentioned this when we spoke previously, that you've had some tough times in your career. So let's talk about what you're happy to talk about that. And that's not just been about men, that's also been about women. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? And we can all presume what was going through the woman's mind as they're not treating you as well. It's the competitiveness, it's the imposter syndrome, etc. But just talk a little bit more about that for us, would you, Paige?
Yeah, I would just like to clarify as well, when we say feminism,
Yeah.
I believe men and women work beautifully together. I believe
Yeah.
in men, and I think we should collaborate more. And I believe that we are responsible to educate them of the struggles we face. I think there was a majority last night at the Summit of Men, and I was talking about the interview today there, and they were all like, good luck, go for it. Be that person who is educating. And there are some, so I just want to say for the record, there are some incredible supporters of females empowering themselves. So this isn't a hate men campaign. This is about, I adore them. I think we collaborate with them. I think they make us better and we make them better. So I just wanted that to be clear right from the very
Absolutely. And
beginning.
that's important because people look at the word feminism
Yeah,
and say that we're just going to be all burning our bras and running around, but it's not. It's about promoting the real positive side of women and what we
absolutely.
can bring. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about my journey then.
Yeah.
So I came into the industry when I was 17 years old. I was blessed enough to fast track my GCSEs and A levels, and I started as an apprentice. I lived in a little town, so I was commuting into the city every day, which that took a toll on me, to be honest, in itself. I remember when I first started, I had tonsillitis about 3 times on the trot. And I remember having a one-to-one conversation with one of the partners who was a man. And he said, you know, Paige, we're a bit concerned. You've just started, you're very young, you've been off with 3 bouts of tonsillitis, you've used all your sick leave, like what's going on? And at that time, do you know what? I felt this big because the reality was, I had a lot going on in my personal life. The reality was that I was commuting, I was exhausted. I was going into full-time work. No one talks about the change when you're a
Yeah.
student and then you go into that industry.
And
I was
all the things you're trying to learn on a day-to-day basis is exhausting as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, you know, I'd be falling asleep on the bus on the way home. And even when I got off the bus, I then had like a mile to walk home. It was just
Yeah.
all exhausting massively.
Yeah.
And back then, you know, I wasn't really too aware of my mental health. I didn't quite understand what was going on. But anyways, joining at 17 was the best thing I did. I started as a business and admin apprentice, and I would in fact say it's probably it made my career. It was my foot in the door. I remember being at college and everyone saying, "You're crazy. Why are you going? Why are you applying for apprenticeships? Why are you giving up on uni and la la la?" Anyway, long story short, best thing I ever did. I entered the sector. I worked at a really good law firm, a very traditional law firm. And again, nothing prepared me for that. There would be days where I would be running up and down the very old stairs, absolutely sweating with files, with doing jobs that are kind of unimaginable. And I shared with you previously, I'll never forget the time my phone rang. I was sitting down in the basement and it was, "Hi, Paige, can you bring me up some soap to the bathroom, please?" And that was the conversation. And I thought, gosh, have I really entered a place where I'm taking people's soap? You know, and it was, and now it was such a humbling experience. And again, I'm so glad I had that experience. I don't resent it at all. But when I realized that I was going to make something of myself was when I got my certificate very early. I fast tracked that. I had a fantastic assessor who believed in me. She was, and we're still friends to this day. I then started being a secretary all around the firm. So I got all of my work experience, really understanding different areas of
Yeah.
law. And I also managed to work for a lot of partners. So it's really nice to see their approach. And it was a very big contrast. At the time, we had a managing partner who was just fabulous. He was, oh God, I don't want to say how old he was because I'm not actually sure because I was so young at the time. He probably felt a bit older to me, but he just again believed in me and he helped me get through what I went through. And then there would be this very stark contrast between other partners. And there was one chap I worked for. It's only on a temporary basis. And I used to dread going into the office and he would come and sit on the desk where I'd be sitting, didn't use the computer, and he would just start talking at me and I would have to write everything. He'd be like, "Right, letter to the court, dear sirs," da, 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 da. And it was just constant. And when you're doing that on 100 to 120 files, like you've got to be on it, you've got to organize yourself, you've got to be listening. And that was such an experience. And then I landed in private client, got offered a role there as a secretary, and then fell in love with it. And then I started my studies, so my legal studies. So I worked towards getting my level 6 certificate in private client work. So that consisted of a 4-hour exam, 10 assignments. Got that under my belt, loved it. I was like, right, I need to be earn, I need to see the public, I need to give back, I need to make a difference. So that journey began for me, and I coming into the industry in a very different way, not going to uni, because the reality is I didn't get the opportunity to go, but don't think it would have been for me anyway. I've always been, and I think that comes from my family. I come from a very hardworking background, and earning money was required, you know, and it just suited me to the ground. But I then pushed and I became a paralegal. So I started fee earning, got my own caseload, built that up from the ground. But that's kind of where I started to feel the competition. That's where I started to feel the rivalry, and it wasn't pleasant. And things that happened, you know, I would hear people talking about me. I would walk in on it. I would hear people annoyed that I was building a caseload because I just put 2 solid years of networking into myself, and I built my caseload from referrals or recommendations. And I kept practicing, kept building my experience, and I loved it. I did leave and I went to a corporate firm because I thought, well, I love wearing a little blazer and a skirt, so get me in that corporate firm. Absolutely despised it. You talk about crying to a bloke. I remember crying to the tax partner, and I'm talking full cry, like crying, streaming. And the partner at the time, it was a female, and I had a man mentor me, and he was fabulous. He's retired now, and we got on so well. And I had my appraisal, and it brought me to tears. She brought me to tears. She was so rude and so just disrespectful. And I remember having a conversation with him, with my line manager, and he was like, "I'm so sorry that's happened. I didn't even know these things that she was going to say." Anyway, took myself off to the toilets like we all do to have a good old cry. Then I went into the tax partner and I just said, "I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to hand my notice in. Like, I can't stay here another day." Bless his heart. I don't think he knew what to do with me. I was just such a mess. I was like, "I'm so sorry. I just can't do it." Anyway, luckily, my old boss approached me and she said, "Come back." And I was like, "I would love to come back." And when I came back, it was more of I was fee earning as a lawyer, as a private client executive. And that's what I always wanted. And with that, and came, you know, a lot of experience, but I had to work hard for my caseload. And I think what was really tricky for me is I started very much from the bottom, and I think there's so much beauty in that. There's beauty in knowing how to do the administration, how to seal a will, how to make an appointment for a
And have
client,
appreciation of everybody's role and how important it is to complete that.
absolutely, how to archive a file, you know. And I adore that, and that's why I think apprenticeships and people who do start at the bottom get a really great experience, and probably do progress at maybe a quicker rate, because you can show that empathy towards other people. And I went back, my caseload was ever increasing and I was loving it. And then the next thing I knew, I was starting a court of protection team there. It was just a passion of mine, and I just wanted to go. I just saw so much for the business that the business could do, and it kind of fell a bit flat. And I now can appreciate that I have a bundle of personality. I come into the industry in a very unique way. I don't have a law degree in the sense of I haven't sat and done tort law. I haven't sat and done criminal law. I'm a private client specialist. And that was my thing. And that was my degree. And that was my love. And that's uncommon, you know. And then I was approached, and here I am. I've interviewed for firms, and I believe in gut feeling. I remember having an interview. an interview with a lady. It went really well. She introduced me to someone else, and that went really well. But I just decided not to take the job once they offered it to me. And it was nothing personal. It's just a gut feeling. And as a woman, we're very blessed with that intuition. And that's like a bit of advice I would give to everyone listening or watching, is always, if your gut's telling you something, don't ignore it. You know, it's a powerful, powerful feeling. But with that, then a lot of negative things started happening, such as I've had people comment on what I look like, on my eyelashes, on being a bimbo. I've had it all. I've had the discrimination. I've had the bitchiness, the cattiness. But I'm thankful. I'm at peace, and I'm grateful for that. And do you know why I'm so grateful? Because it gives me so much oomph every damn day to do what I'm good at, to inspire the next woman, to empower the next woman, but also to inspire the next generation, you know, to show that there are different ways to come into the industry, and to show someone's opinion of you is none of your business. So I'm really glad you asked that question, Pippa, because as much as it's in my blood and veins that the feeling I get, sorry, when I see women succeed is electrifying, because that is an opportunity. That's a door opened for another woman. Like, how can you be mad at that? Like, that's what doesn't make sense to me. And
so
that's
you gotta really think about what was that person's motivation for bringing you down. You know, do you feel that that was their own sort of like need for competitiveness and drive for their own career to fight in a man's world, or do you just feel that they were jealous? So, you know, there's all kinds of emotions that can come into that. I mean, what's your take on that?
So I did, one word that's been said to me a lot when I've spoken to people is jealousy. Jealousy in that I know my purpose and I live my purpose every day. And that is why I love what I do, and I give the service I give, and I hit the targets I have. I think when you meet a woman who is in and living her purpose and is okay to say no, I think that is scary for other women. I think it pulls out insecurities that women maybe didn't know they have. For someone to comment on my eyelashes is a bit of a cheap shot, but I'm very proud of the woman I am. I love waking up and putting my makeup on and my eyelashes on every day. I love wearing pink into the office. And I love that my business support me being pink. And I love that my desk is pink and no one wants to sit at my desk because it's too pink. And I love that. You know, it's when you're so in touch with yourself and you're so connected, that takes a long time to get to that. And I've had therapy, and I've had the depression, and I've had the lonely nights and the what am I doing? Is this the right job for me? Of course I have. It's part of the journey. But the reality is, when you can say no, when you can follow your intuition, when you can trust yourself, I think that's quite rare, Pippa, to be honest.
I completely agree with you, and I think it is rare. And put it this way, you know, you should never be judged for whether you're wearing eyelashes or not. You know, whether you're overweight, whether you're not. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's for me. But you know, it doesn't matter. It's about how you do that job, isn't it? And how do we get that message out there? How do we get people, you know, to embrace the pink, to, you know, embrace the eyelashes, to embrace different. I mean, I think society is changing, but is it changing quickly enough?
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think people are very scared still. I think it is still very much a man's world sometimes.
In our industry in particular.
Yeah.
Mm.
However, I see lots of women on LinkedIn with a very powerful voice. I see lots of female advocates who are embracing their journey, their mental health, who are embracing breaking the mold, breaking the generational curses. And the more we as women do that, as the more we collaborate with each other, the quicker it spreads, and it's like wildfire. And I just adore seeing it. Like,
Yeah.
seeing women win awards, like, it's just
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Seeing all of these legal committees as well, all over, I'm just like, yes, and these are for women. So yeah, let's talk about the law. Let's talk about us, because we're the
Yeah.
ones implementing it, we're the ones practicing it, and we're the ones who actually are so focused on our clients and giving the best client experience. Like, how do we do that? You
Yeah.
know? And yeah, it's just, I just want women to keep on doing it. Just keep on being
So what's next
strong.
then, Paige?
Oh
Yeah.
gosh,
So
that's
what's
such a good
next? What do we
question.
need? What do we need to fight for next? You know, is it equal pay, the
Wow.
flexible hours, flexible working arrangements for both women and men? You know, let's
Yeah.
not stop giving of tasks because of gender bias. Going
Yeah.
back to bringing you my soap up, but what is it that next we need to fight for?
Great, great, great question. Okay. One thing hearing you say that springs to mind for women. Having a family, I feel, is very heavy on women. Whether you are a mum now, an aspiring mum, or a carer,
Yeah.
guardian, whatever, I feel the woman takes the burden of that. Now, I know there are men who are full-time carers, and I hats off to them. Focusing on women, what strikes me, I don't have a family, Pippa. I don't have one. It's always been an ambition of mine, because I love love. I love children. I love seeing how women evolve when they come into that caregiving role.
Yeah.
However, the reality for me, and I'm going to be really vulnerable right now, and I know lots of people will be
Yeah.
watching, the reality for me, Pippa, is right now, I cannot even envisage being a mother.
Yeah.
I don't know how it would work. I don't know financially if I could do it. I adore my role in society, in my business, in the industry. I don't know how that looks for me.
Yeah.
And I, again, will be very honest with you. I feel pressure. I feel the pressure. Paige, when are you going to have a baby? When are
Yeah.
you going to get married? And it's like, why does that have to be the conversation?
Yeah.
Why
And the
can't it?
expectation and yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
go on, sorry.
sorry, I was going to just say one thing
Yeah.
that strikes me the most, which I think maybe I find, and it's just opinion, I find difficult. When you become pregnant, you work and work and work, you're growing your baby, and then you have maternity leave.
Yeah.
You go away, you bring your child into the world,
Yeah.
and everything changes for you. Your
Absolutely.
hormones, your body, your mentality, your mental health, your health,
Yeah.
priorities, everything. Now,
Yeah.
the first thing to say is that in itself is, it's life changing, first of all. Second of all, what about maternity pay?
Yeah.
What
Well,
about the support that women should
yeah.
get,
Yeah.
should they wish to have a break from their career and do that? I
Yeah.
hate hearing people say you'll figure it out. It shouldn't be about figuring it out. It should be about embracing being a woman, embracing wanting to raise a family, but it should be about businesses making it achievable. And I feel that's what's
Yeah.
next. I truly believe in that, because right now, if I fell pregnant and I left my role, again, being very vulnerable, I would be like, well, who's going to do my job? Who's going to look after my caseload? Is my job still going to be there when I come back? Can I still progress? Can I live on a maternity? What, all of
Yeah.
these questions. Again, it's a vulnerability for a woman to be able to ask these questions. But when I contrast that to men,
Yeah.
and all companies are different, the partner has the baby, they have 2 weeks off, they're there to support the partner and the baby, and then they go back to work.
Yeah.
Their bodies haven't changed, their hormones haven't changed.
Yeah.
I know the family dynamic and circumstances and emotions and feelings have, but they're still receiving their full salary. They're
Yeah,
still getting to go back
yeah,
into the job that it's like taking holiday, do you know?
yeah.
And I struggle with it. It's a topic which I'm quite passionate about
Yeah,
now.
and like oversharing potentially. You know, I mean, this is in my previous role, obviously nothing to do with this industry where I was before, but you know, I went through the journey of not being able to have children. And I did 10 years of IVF, and my company didn't know because I didn't feel I could tell them, because I felt that I'd be overlooked for promotions, for everything like that. As oh, she's trying to have a baby.
Yeah,
um
yeah.
you know, and then once I felt, you know, all the hormones, and I couldn't cope with the hormones, they gave me terrible migraines. And then I went through the adoption journey, and so the first my, you know, and I was going through 10 years of this. The first my company knew was when I'd been approved to adopt from the adoption panel, and they were just like, oh, we just thought you weren't interested in having kids. We just thought you were power hungry, well, not power hungry, but power, you know,
Yeah.
driven from your career perspective. I will say there is never a good time to have children. I don't
Mm.
think financially you'll ever be able to afford it, Paige. And
Yeah.
I don't think from a career perspective it's ever good. And I think there's you know, what you say there is, you know, however you come into being a mum, and for me it was via adoption, it does change your life, and it changes you overnight, and suddenly you've got this one or two or however many little things that are depending on you. And the, you know, the one thing to touch on is the guilt. And my God, you have guilt that you should be at work, and then you have guilt when you should be at home, and you know, you're never happy anywhere. And it took me a very long time to get that balance where actually it's stressful having children. So
Mm.
actually I use work as a de-stressor for the home life. And then if
Right.
it's stress at work, then straight away when I go home, I'm then in mum mode. And
Mm.
and I think that is really, really difficult. And I completely agree with you. You're taking that time off, you feel disconnected, you don't feel that you're part of what's going on. There's, you know, especially when things are moving so quickly and
Mm.
changing, and then you feel that you've got to go back to work when you perhaps aren't ready to go back to work because either financially you can't afford to, or you just feel that you're going to lose your career and you're not going to be able to step back onto that ladder,
Right.
you know, 3-4 years down the line. And I will also add on to that, and I know there's a lot of press about it, but as you start to get older, you then have those hormones issues again, because
Right.
you know you're going into menopause and all those things. So you know it's a constant juggling act for a woman throughout their career, isn't it?
And that's why it's so important to be kind. You know, I've got
Yeah,
in my team, I've got women with very young children
yeah,
and grown up children, and I admire the hell out of them, Pippa. I really do. Some of them are just so relentless at what they do, but so vulnerable with sharing their challenges with me. And I respect that so
yeah,
much. I just, yeah, I just take my hat off to them. And again, this brings me back to the point I said earlier. We have superpower, and being a woman is a superpower for these exact reasons, you know. And the reality is, I also know female partners in law who do have children and who have made that work.
yeah.
And again, I love to see that. But how many are there? How many share their
And they
journey?
must have a really good support network around them.
Yeah, but I
And
love that you spoke about the guilt, because I think
yeah,
that the mum guilt is a real thing.
huge.
And
Yeah,
I know loads of people who put their children into nursery
yeah,
full time just so they
yeah,
can work, and the guilt of doing that. And then
yeah,
people are saying, well, why are you having kids if you're leaving them with someone else?
yeah,
You know, it's just like, gosh, cut me some slack. I'm trying
yeah,
to set an example.
yeah,
And yeah, it's hard. So I really hope to see there's so much conversation about the menopause in the workplace now, and I love that. I love that there is that generation of women who now,
yeah,
I pray, are starting to feel a bit more supported,
yeah,
starting to feel like they can have these conversations. And that's amazing. But I would love to see something, you know, about women and just making it more flexible, basically. And
yeah,
I have to caveat that with, I know there are some fantastic businesses out there who do give men fantastic paternity, who do give them the ability to share, you know, the load with the child. But there's also a lot of traditional older firms who don't. And it's about breaking the chains, isn't it? And so that's what I would love to kind of see next.
Yeah, brilliant. Flipping it slightly about a different type of question. So do you feel that the law around estate planning in itself is problematic for women? Is there any laws that you would change to make it more equal for men and women?
That's a good question. Trying to think specifically, I feel estate planning, as in being a female lawyer giving that advice, works to my attributes in that I'm caring, I'm emotive, I'm good at organizing, I'm good at making a plan and having direction. And I think having those qualities makes me deliver a better job to my clients. From the actual being client, I think you've got your, you know, your transferable nil rate band allowances. One thing I would say is, and this might be a bit controversial, I've seen recently when people, partners, so man and wife, whoever, if they don't get married or have a civil partnership, they are not allowed the transferable allowances. Now, I've had quite a few clients now who have been together over 50 years, 40, 50 years, and they full subject to the tax, the inheritance tax, and they don't have children. And the pain they go through after they lose someone. And in these cases, it tends to be the man has gone first. So the woman, when I'm consoling her, I'm fighting for her. In every letter I send to the institution, to the pension companies to try and get the spousal pension, you know, that for me is something that is a big bugbear, because I think marriage again is beautiful, but not everyone can afford it, Pippa. Not everyone believes in it. Not everyone wants a piece of paper. It's actually the commitment of growing with someone, living together, you know, growing a life together. And I think that's really hard on people who maybe don't ever get round to have the opportunity to do it, or have seen failed marriages in their family and it puts them off. That's something I feel quite strongly about. Now
There's also the you know, because I've got the situation in two different areas of my family with aunts and uncles, where they can't take advantage of the residential nil rate band because they've got no children of their own. But yet they're very, very close to their nieces and nephews, and they can't pass that on.
Yeah, do you know, that's a really great point. And it's like, could you have an argument over discrimination? What about if that woman can't, or that man can't have children? How is that fair? How is that fair to have a 40% tax bill?
Just because you didn't have children.
Being penalised for that, you know. That's a really good point, Pippa, actually. A bit of food for thought. Should I ever be Prime Minister? Maybe that's something I will
Come on, we've got the general election coming up now, haven't we? Let's vote for Paige. That's what I say.
I'll surprise you all. I'll be on your TVs.
Brilliant. Look, I'm going to ask you one more question just about going back in time and giving your younger self some advice, and what would that be? But to anybody who's listening, if you've got any questions for Paige, please pop it in there now, and that would be fantastic. But if you could go back now, Paige, and see your younger self, that person sitting in the basement getting that phone call and being asked to take that soap up, you know, what advice would you give to that person?
Couple of things. When you go through something, go through it. Don't be at the beginning of it and be in it, but not go through it. We all go through things in life. We can go through things which make us freeze and stop and feel numb and scared, and we try and look for a way to go around it. And ultimately, I have learned the hard way that if you don't go through it, it will come round in some other area of your life and it will bite you. So go through it. Don't be scared. Go through it. Feel the pain. Endure it. Embrace the emotions you're feeling. They're valid. You're valid. Your feelings are so valid. Love yourself. Don't let other people's opinions of you define you. And my favorite one right now is, this is my journey. There may be people watching who are like, well, how has she done that? How is she speaking today? How did she become chair? How has she won the awards? That's my journey. And my journey and what I believe in is opening up the doors for the women to the right or left of me. Let me be on my journey and let me help you on your journey. And I think there's so much power in that. When you see people successful, don't hate on them. Just allow them to be that success, because they're going to be opening a new door for you, you know. And I think it's really easy as women to compare, especially in our industry. It's like, well, okay, are you an associate? Are you a senior? Are you a partner? What salary are you on? What qualifications do you have? Stop focusing on that. Why don't we actually focus on what door is she opening for that person? You know, what impact is she having? Is she happy? Yeah. Could we learn something from her? Doesn't have to be competition. I hate that. I actually hate that, because it's like, if people just change their mindset and be like, do you know what? This person has this attribute and they're really good at it. Let them be good at it. Go make a change. Be the change, see the change. Open that door for all of the rest of the change. And one of you, whoever it is, whoever's listening, be good at what you're good at. But don't let that make you feel you're not good at something that someone else is good at. That's just their journey. Yeah. This is my journey. You know, Pippa, you've got your journey, and there's so much beauty in that. Stop comparing. It doesn't matter if you didn't go to uni. It doesn't really matter what grade you got, because I tell you right now, no one in my career has ever sat down and asked me the percentage of my exam that I got. All people ask me about is my client testimonials, my drive, my ambition. They asked how I get time to do everything, how I give back to society. That's all people ask me. They don't want to know anything else. Yeah. And I love that I can sit as a very vulnerable woman who is okay to be not okay, you know, and that's hard in itself. But I want to see the Lady Hales of the world. I want to see this. I want to see these amazing women on their journey, and I want to be the one clapping for them. Yeah. And that's what I pray that I get to bring to this industry. And I pray that I get to be that person for, if someone's watching this and is feeling a bit alone or needs a bit of encouragement. No, whatever day you're having, wherever you are, if you're stuck, if you're going through personal hardship, if you're dealing with a difficult manager, I'm still clapping for you, because those hard times propel you. When you've got an arrow, you pull it back to then propel, and that is life. Yeah. Come back sometimes, but then you're going to propel. And enjoy that moment when it goes. Enjoy every stage of it. Bring it back, let it go, and watch where it goes. And whilst you're doing that, bring everyone else with you.
Well, I think that was an absolute fantastic summary. You said you wanted people to learn, and I think we've learned a lot from you today, Paige. I think what a fantastic journey you've been on, what a fantastic journey you've shared with us today, and I thank you so much for that. And I would just end to say that I think you've already got quite a few votes for PM. So if you do want to go and do that and sort that out, I think we're all there. So I mean, there's some lovely comments on the chats there, but I think for me, it's been an absolute joy. It's so nice to see such a strong woman who's so lovely, who's so in love with love, who's so positive, who is going to drive this Women in Wheels forward, you are going to make a difference to so many people's lives, Paige, and I want you to understand that. So yeah, we are going to start the hashtag Paige for PM campaign as Beth just put on the chat. But you are already making a difference, and you will continue to make such a difference to so many people's lives. So thank you so much for today, Paige, and thank you all for listening. And can't wait to bring you another Women in Wheels interview series. But yeah, thanks again, Paige.
Thank you, Pippa, and thank you everyone for watching.